Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Netflix and Chill. I, of course, am Jared Foyles, and today we're going to be talking about Netflix and uh, I already forgot. I already forgot the production company's name. Um, Netflix's new action suspense flick, The Old Guard. Um, Stars Charlize Theron, Kiki Lane, Matthias Schoenertz, which I'll be honest, when I saw him at first, I was like, isn't that I, I mistook him for somebody else, but yeah, no, not definitely not who I thought it was. Um, yeah, I mean those are the top billed actors in this movie, and since COVID-19 is canceling all of movies and all of theaters and effectively canceling midnight screenings, we have to resort to Netflix. So here it is. This is the Old Guard. Um, the Old Guard is a group led by Theron's character Andy. Uh, they are a group of immortals. I guess. And you see, this is where this movie kind of becomes a little bit of a hodgepodge thing. They're immortals, but they can die, and they eventually will die. So their immortality is, they're really just mortals, uh, but with a very prolonged life expectancy. And during their like healthy periods, they can just like instantly heal from like gunshots and everything else like that. So I guess in a way they're more like Wolverine, I guess you could say. Like they can heal, but they're not indestructible. They're not like entirely indestructible. They're just able to come back from a lot until one day they just can't. Um, and so they talk about that in the movie, and what they actually say in there. Once they establish that, that's actually what happens to Andy. At one point in the movie, uh, she sustains some injuries, and she's not like immediately healing. So it's like, oh no, what do we do about Andy, right? Um, Kiki Lane plays Niall Freeman, the new immortal. Her character was a her character was a Marine, and was killed in the line of duty, but you know, or at least that was the official word, but really she just woke up the next day completely fine, and now the government's like, what the hell? which yeah, I mean, you gotta kind of agree with that. um, you know, I'm pretty sure anybody would be like, what the hell? Uh, so that's whenever she meets up with Andy, and Andy drafts her into her group of immortal commandos called the Old Guard. Uh, there's also Booker, which is Shonen Arts, Joe and Nikki, uh, who are played by Marwin Kenzari and Luca Marinelli. Um, and those yeah, so there's they start off with four, then they find Nile, so then it becomes five, and so meanwhile, while all this is going on, there's a pharmaceutical CEO who is trying to. Well, he heard about these immortals through a former CIA agent, Copley, played by Shiwetel. Uh, it. I'm not even gonna try to. I'm not even gonna try to mispronounce that. I'm gonna butcher that. Like, whoo. But so he's former CIA, which by the way, can we take a minute to talk about that? Okay, so here is this guy who um, is former CIA. He in the exposition, which there's a lot of in this movie, he says that he was born in the States but moved to England at 3 years old. How he was able to still get enlisted into the CIA is, I mean, I don't know, but but even Booker said it early on. I thought you had to be an American to get into CIA, and he's like, "Well, I was born in America," and it's like, yeah, okay, so you can be president, I guess, but that doesn't mean you can you can join the CIA while living in England. I don't know. I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me, but maybe it does in some way. Um, let's see. So Copley Copley is basically the pharmaceutical CEO's way of getting to these immortals so that he can harness their healing abilities and whatnot, and to live forever and to develop treatments or the almighty dollar. The CIA, the CIA CEO is Merrick, played by Harry Melling, and I know I've seen him in stuff, but right now I cannot remember. I just know whenever I saw him on there, I was like, I know you, but from where? Like maybe he was in a Harry Potter, I believe. I can't remember exactly. Well, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I have IMDb on my computer. Aha! He was Dudley Dursley. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. See, this is why I have IMDb on my computer, like at the beck and call. I knew he looked familiar. So yeah, Dudley Dursley grows up to become Merrick in in this movie, and he's great. I mean, I guess you could say he's a villain. Yeah, I guess he's a villain. Yeah, because I mean, he even gets to the point where he's like, hey, they can't die, so do whatever you want with them, just like do all sorts of like unethical and immoral things to them because hey, they're immortals, right? So yeah, that's kind of villainy. Let's see. So they capture Joe and Nikki, who are early on in the movie established as a gay couple, and they did so in not a very unobtrusive way, but it was kind of weird how the way they established it was just the group was traveling in a freight train boxcar, and they showed them just cuddling, and it's like, oh, okay, so they're gay, okay. so So yeah, and then they exchanged this one really kind of cheesy, kind of corny instance when they were captured. But otherwise it was fine. I mean, it was, and that's kind of what I liked about the representation in this movie. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like it was pandering or anything. Both Joe and Nikki are badasses in their own right, and I mean, same with uh, Nile Freeman as a woman of color. She is also a badass. And so, like I said, none of this felt like it was pandering. So I will give this movie a lot of credit in that, because I feel like a lot of studios these days, they're just like, oh, we need inclusion, we need representation, and we just gotta like jab it in there as much as possible, right? So kudos to them for putting this in there without, without really doing all that lip service, I guess it is. Let's see, where are we at? Uh, so at some point, Niall's like, no, I don't want to do this anymore, and so she goes. So she's like, I'm done, and that's whenever you think that she's gonna like stop, but then she realizes, oh no, Andy and Booker are walking into a trap, and oh no, it turns out, spoiler alert, Booker's the one that's set it all up. Right. Um, so she comes back, and in just in time too, because at this point, Merrick now has all four of them in his lab, and that's whenever Niles shows up, and she's like, "Oh no, you made a promise, blah blah blah." um, so yeah. I'll just stop giving you the walkthrough from there. Um, I liked this movie. It was slow getting started. It was. There was a lot of exposition in the dialogue, and the pacing was just very slow. But then after a while, like I said, once it got into like the second act, it was like, okay, now we've actually got a good movie here. So yeah, if you could just get through the first act, you're gonna be okay. And I guess that's where a lot of my criticisms come in, is that they this is another movie that is 2 hours long, that shouldn't be 2 hours long. This is a movie that has a lot of padding, and again, that padding is what screws up the pacing, um, and and I just feel like that if they were to edit it down to 90 minutes or an hour and 45, I'd feel like they'd have a better movie. But I mean, truth be told, it's still a pretty solid flick. I definitely have to give this a Netflix. You have to put this on your list. You have to watch it. It's a good movie. Uh, oh. During the exposition, which seems kind of clunky at first, again, they talk about how Andy, who is thousands of years old, same with Joe and Nikki. They've both been established as, well, Joe and Nikki said they met during the Crusades. So yeah, thousands of years old. And same with Andy. They never really got to establish Andy's age, because every time they would ask her her age, she would just like answer with cliches like, oh, I'm too old, and oh, I stopped paying attention. I stopped counting. um, but yeah, they did find out that but you know, after a while, you can do the math and be like, oh, so you're really old. In fact, I think she even says really old when asked one time. Um, she revealed that she had a friend. Niall actually segued it into it. Once she joined, all right. So this, I forgot to mention this. Apparently, um, whenever the immortals are apart or something like that, they dream about each other. Like they've got like a subconscious psychic link. And so that's how the four of them found out about Niall, because whenever Niall was officially killed, um, I think it was I think it was Joe that had a dream about Niall, and then they all woke up and they're like, oh yeah, I saw her too. Oh, well, so when Niall joined them, she had a dream about another immortal that she didn't know, and they filled her in that it was Quinn, Andy's old uh, partner or friend or something like that, played by Veronica Go, and or Go. She um, it was pretty cool because they said that her and Andy were on trial as witches, and they do a flashback and they show them in the prison talking about, oh no, I've never been burned alive before. How do you think it'll be? And Andy goes, excruciating. But you know, they're not going to die. They're just going to like be painfully burned. Um, so so the guards and the priest come in. They grab Quinn and they put her in this iron casket, pretty much, and they put her in the ocean, right? So you've got this immortal, um, just down at the bottom of the ocean, repeatedly drowning and coming back to life and everything. And man, and meanwhile, while they're telling this, I'm like, so why aren't they finding her? And they finally said, oh well, we spent decades looking for her, but we gave up. And it's like, but it should be easy now. You know, sonar and all sorts of stuff. You know, you could find her easily now than what you could thousands of years ago. So, you know, after I did some calculating, I'm like, so you just gave up after decades and left her down there with no effort for the last 450 years. Wow. You guys are dicks. So, um, so yeah, so another spoiler alert, just before the credits, they go to 6 months later, Booker runs into Quinn. And yeah, so I mean, this movie actually ends setting up a sequel, and I got to be honest, I'm pretty stoked. I think the old guard 2 will be just as good as the first one, if not better. Because it sounds to me Like they're gonna have to answer to Quinn as to why she's been at the bottom of the ocean for 400 or for 500 years. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the Old Guard. It was a good movie. It had its problems, and I think at the end of the day, you know, that's what you want from, or that's what you can expect from an action thriller. You know, you're not going to get some kind of tremendous feat in cinematic, but it you know, it's still a solid film. It's got a great cast, decent writing. Editing could probably fix this movie a little bit. You know, it could probably make it tighter. But yeah, otherwise, great movie. I gave it a thumbs up on Netflix. I think you will too. Definitely Netflix this. Let me know what you thought. Comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, turn on notifications too, because I'm gonna start posting these a little more often. So whenever I do, you guys can get notified, and you'll never miss an episode. So that'll be it for me. Thanks for watching, guys.